Welcome, everyone. This is the first episode of this thing that we got ourselves into. Oh. Welcome to three, two,
And noobs.
Pen Noobs. Yes, a fountain pen and stationery podcast to be hosted by me. I'm Jika, an English and philosophy high school teacher from Metro Manila, and he is.
Ryan, also a teacher in Manila.
Yes. Okay, so we actually teach the same subjects, and I'm sure that not just teachers can relate to the situation that we found ourselves in the year that shall not be named, but we will still name 2020. 2020 was pretty much the worst year in existence, at least in the 21st century. And a lot of us found ourselves in a work from home setting or setup wherein, well, digital fatigue took place. So, where some people bought plants, if you're watching us right now, we got plants. We are not immune to that, okay? Um, Other people, such as ourselves, got way deeper into the wormhole called fountain pens. So, today's episode is exactly about that. It being the first episode, you're probably wondering why the show is called Pen Noobs. What does noob mean? I have to Google that. Do you have any idea, Ryan?
Word for like people who are not knowledgeable about something or new to something. It's like a newbie. Is that right?
Oh, it's short for newbie. But
Newbie.
like
There. Yeah.
it's short for newbie, but apparently it has negative and pejorative connotations. Thank you, Google.
Google.
So as English teachers, I guess we're gonna do our best to reclaim the term noob.
Yeah, we could negotiate the meaning of the word noob.
Exactly. So we're gonna go ahead and try that with this series. We are your designated or at least initial pen noobs, Jika and Ryan, and today we're gonna talk about our noob pen and stationary journey that took place in 2020. So I've actually been collecting pens, or my first pen came 2 years ago. What about you, Ryan?
Actually, the thing with 2020, although it was, I would say, a bad year for me, it wasn't the best year. I think the silver lining there would have to be this. I would call it some sort of like a rekindling with my passion or a liking for stationery, which I used to have when I was younger. It's just I did not recognize it or I did not really acknowledge it as a penchant and liking for stationery. So it all started during the lockdown when everyone was all focused on their screens. And I was like, oh, this is so boring. I'm so tired of my gadgets. I want something to make me feel that life is still organic, life is still colorful, life can be lived without technology. How can I disconnect? How can I disengage with all of these, notifications? And so, um, ironically, however, that this prompting towards fountain pen was triggered or prompted by my device, my phone on Instagram. So one time, I think that was around April, I was just browsing through Instagram and then I ended up seeing a pen.
Hmm.
A pen. I think it was a Twisby. But I
Okay.
didn't know what a Twisby was. I didn't even know what I know what Pilot is, but I just thought it was just for markers. So I did not know anything about pens at all. I just thought they were pretty, but I thought they were so impractical. Like I'm not gonna spend this much money.
Mhm.
Um, but eventually, I pulled the trigger because someone pushed me to buy fountain pens.
Do you know this person? Was it me? I don't even remember. It seems like 10 years
Actually,
ago.
you,
It was me. Oh, God.
you, yeah.
Sorry, and I'm thankful.
If you actually retrace our Viber conversation, you would see there. I sent you a screenshot of the Twisby. I think it was the white Echo Rose Gold.
Oh, yeah.
When I asked you, is this a good brand? Is this good? Then I think you were also not super into Twisbies back then.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You
I
had more
judge.
of,
I kind of judge people with Twisby. So I own one now, just in case people listening think I'm a hater. But I own one, so like chill out in advance. And I
yeah,
enabled Ryan. So go ahead, Ryan.
you did. So there, my first fountain pen was actually a Twisby Eco white rose gold. Um, but I bought it. I think it was a Tuesday, but Wednesday night I went again to Scribe and bought the other one, the smoke rose gold. So like I bought two pens.
Okay, I remember this. And by the way, Scribe is like the main distributor, or the like it's the most mainstream distributor of fountain pens and stationery in at least the Metro Manila area. So it's our go-to place. Like some of us even, and if you're a stationery freak like us, some of the sales ladies, the salespeople actually know us already. So that was like Ryan's gateway into it, like that community. I remember it. We were on a Zoom call, and then he's like, the pens suddenly appear on the screen, and so too do the inks, and I'm shocked. All in one go. I am proud, but I am also like he doesn't know what he's getting himself into.
It's true. They said it's a rabbit hole. It is.
It
It's a
is.
beautiful rabbit hole. And you'll end up in what do you call that? Alice in Wonderlands. What's that place? Is it Wonderland?
I think it is just called Wonderland, but yeah, it's a good place to be, and it's kind of crazy too. But before siguro we get into like the craziness, maybe Ryan, you started out with two pens at around what month was that in 2020?
Well, I think I ordered it late April and I got it first week of May.
Oh, and this is gonna be a bit weird, or maybe we're gonna get to it later. But how many pens do you have right now?
Good.
Because
Okay.
I'm gonna fess up to my count as well, just so that our audience knows.
Okay. Mm, well, if I'm gonna count it, how much pens I've acquired,
Mhm.
I would say I got 20 pens, but I actually mid um, actually by the end of the year, by the end of 2020, I decided to streamline my collection. So I sold some of the pens which I don't like or they don't really spark joy anymore. Not because they're ugly, they're actually good. It's just that they don't fit my quote unquote aesthetics.
Which is a determining factor for our collections. Please note that in a subsequent episode. Yeah. So how
Yeah.
many do you have now? You've
Okay.
acquired 20, but how many are left?
Acquired 20, but I sold I think seven of them. Yeah, I
Oh,
sold
so-
7 of them because well, I bought them when I was hungry for pens. You know, you're like, just, oh, I want a new pen. I want a new pen every week. So it was bad because I bought them not because I really liked them, but because I like the idea of having a pen. The joy you you feel when a new package arrives and it's a new pen and
yes.
you're going to unbox them. Yeah. So it's not that they're bad pens. They're actually quite nice. I just feel like they don't match my aesthetic, um, and it doesn't fit to the T. Like I don't think a tortoise shell found lacquered fountain pen would fit my aesthetic. Something that's color. What's the color of that? I think it's just color green. It has a bunch of speck of gold dust or something. It doesn't fit my
Oh.
so I had to let go of those Moon Man pens.
Oh, okay. So, all right. That's intense. That's like almost a year ago. You are now down to 13 pens from having acquired 20. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. I guess this that narrative just tells it that us that people have different pen stories. Because mine is entirely different. I mean, I said it a while ago. I started collecting, or rather, I can't even say collecting because I'm a slow collector. Um, I started with fountain pens around 2 years ago. I honestly thought that it was not cool. I was like, but I can buy like a pack of 12 Sarasa clips or limited edition vintage Sarasa clips. I was really into stationery. I was really into like what do you call those ballpoint multi pens that you could personalize that were like point 0.3 in diameter.
I remember that.
Yeah, I had this stage where I would color code everything. So that was really helpful. But at one point around 2 years ago, my boyfriend bought a Twisby, and this is where my early judgment of Twisby came from. Because I was like, we were going through the mall, we stopped by a scribe, and he's like, "That's pretty," and then he gets it, and I'm just pissed off because like you didn't think that purchase through. But look at where we are now. I actually have more pens than him, so I can't really speak so ill about that experience anymore. My first exposure was around 2.5 years ago, and my boyfriend actually acquired pens at the rate that you're going right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, but at that time, I think it was around 5 months. He got around 8 pens, I think. And then he realized at the end of it that he wanted to streamline his collection, that certain nibs weren't working out for him. So, being the girlfriend who's like, I will take your spares. I am a teacher. I want to check in fashion while also saving the world. Well, then, yes, give me your pen. So, he gave me a Lamy 2000 at that time. Yes. It was a medium nib, and I recall pen people are gonna hate me. I think I was a week and a half into using it, I dropped it,
Oh no.
and not even in the good way. I dropped it with the nib down,
Oh no. Oh
pen
my.
cap on. So when I opened the pen, the nib was bent.
Oh.
So it was really painful, but I wasn't too like caught up in it because I don't like medium nibs. Like
Yeah.
I my pen journey has been a lot of I don't likes. I've I've really determined what I don't like in order to like slowly acquire the stuff that I do like. So right now I still have that Lamy 2000. I'm working to getting a replacement nib because I really can't stand the medium nib. But in this country at least, the nib is more expensive than the pen body. So maybe I'll have it nibmeister down the line.
Yeah.
Um, what else? Since
Actually,
oh yeah,
I just remembered, since you mentioned about a medium nib, Alami, one of the pens that I did sell was Alami with a medium nib because I didn't like the medium nib. It was too thick for me.
same.
And probably not to say anything bad about Lamy. I mean, it's a good brand. I mean, it's sturdy. It's just that it looks, in terms of the looks, as what I said, it doesn't match my aesthetic. And then I think the color or the pigment of the ink tends to get diluted or muted down once
Mm,
you get with the Lamy. So that's just my observation.
that's true. And it also really does come down to preference. Like I noticed for us teachers, because note that we are not the only two pen-abled or pen noobs in our community at school or at work. It's really just that most teachers tend toward fine, extra fine, and medium fine nibs, because we have a lot of checking to do, so and we have a lot of signing to do, and like if you have the opportunity to do it in a very fine and refined manner, why not, right? So the medium nibs, a lot of the Western nibs actually aren't really much in our rotation. We use them for flourishes in our journaling, for making final marks, the big A's. Congratulations if you got one, or the really sad but also big F's. So yeah. Um, let's see. Since that journey from like 2 years ago, my boyfriend gave me the Lamy. I dropped it, so I started investing in cheap pens. I think a lot of people actually start out with a medium to a cheap pen. So these fall under the Twisbys, under the Moonmen, under the Pilot Kakuno. I'm just dropping names here just in case you can relate. But
And
yeah.
this is what Jinhao.
Oh, and also a Jinhao, exactly. Jinhao's great for weight. But my first formal acquisition was a Wing Sung, I think 698 or 338. I get the numbers wrong, but I remember buying it off of Shopee. It was like 800 for 4 pieces. So I was like, yay. like high capacity pen. I can give some away. I gave some to our friend on Christmas, and then she was like, "Yay, thank you!" And now she's in the rabbit hole that we're both in. And how do you call it? I started with that, and it's just such a pleasure checking. I spent, I think, a year checking using really cheap but extra fine nibbed stainless steel nib pens on really bad school provided paper. I mean, what kind of school provides like non-recycled paper? So obviously, it's not really made for fountain pens. But since then, oh god, the pandemic just, I don't know how to feel about it. But it streamlined my collection. I have found that since my first Lamy and since my wing songs, I have gotten into a sailor rabbit hole. Not just any sailor, I am a pro gear fan. And
Oh,
that could be very basic for a lot of people, but it is not basic for my wallet.
they're not basic.
It's not basic for anyone's wallet. But
Yeah.
yeah, um, yours was a Twisby this April or May. Mine was a limited edition Pro Gear Mini Slim in taupe that they retired, I think, sometime this year because of Sailor's new ownership. I had no idea it was going to be as rare as it is, but there we are. My collection is now, I don't know how many I have. I have less than 12. I have less than 12.
Oh,
But
you have 12.
I think I have less than 12, yeah, because I have the pen case. Like, we're going to drop brands and names later down the line. We're gaining traction. But I have 12 on my in my case. Like, one half is like the cheap stuff, and then the other half is like oh, it's empty. Is the expensive stuff. Cuz you know,
Where are they?
we could spend, how do you call it, people could spend on jewelry, but jewelry can also be bound to gender norms. So pens, I can give these to my children and they can give
Yeah.
it to their children. So yeah, it's an investment, and that's really the driving force right now. um yeah, that's my pen noob journey.
Hmm. Um, so how did you come up with your curation or streamlining? I think that's one of the things we've been mentioning in this conversation about streamlining. But
Yeah.
curious to know what exactly is that aesthetic or maybe that limiting factor that
Huh. Oh dear, I think you're more into this than I am, because like I'm only starting, because it's depend given my penchant for somewhat limited edition or out of, yeah, the stuff that they're phasing out. It takes much longer for me to curate my pens. But like, what about you? What's your main process so far?
okay. Um, Actually, one of the pens I've been eyeing prior to actually knowing my style was actually one of the pro gears that you have, the blue one, the Mili Color.
Color.
Yeah. So actually, I wanted that. It's so pretty still, but I think it just doesn't really fit my overall aesthetic anymore. Maybe if they do have it in black and gray, I would get it, or maybe in brown. Um, so maybe I'll show some of my pens.
Yes, go ahead.
I've not transferred them yet onto my Galen letter case. So I do have, I think I can show it this way.
Yay.
Fall either way. Okay, so there. I think it would work there. Okay. As you get to see, I do have blues, white, black, and
Gray? Is it?
gray,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure if I want to keep it um, or if I don't. Actually, this is a part of the whole streamlining. So lately, I've been sticking to some color schemes only. So that's blue, white, black, but I do have a green
Oh,
here, and then the gray one.
yeah.
So gray one, I'm still debating if I still want it because I was thinking of the gray one as a fountain pen I'll use if I want to look um, subtle. I
Uh,
don't want to grab people's attention because as you get to see, what really is my aesthetic would be the gold um,
clip.
clip. Yeah. Or basically the gold details, whether it's rose gold or gold. And then I want it to be in blue, white or black. But yeah, there is a green, which is an exception. I am planning to look for pens now that are in the color of brown
Mm.
earth tones. So yeah, basically, and the earth tones are now in my Kaveco collection, which I will show you. So
Yeah.
the Kaveco would all be, well, actually, they're just here are the earth tones. So they're not totally earth tones, but yeah, there. So
They look
there.
so dreamy when they're put together side by side. Happy family.
Happy family. So they're all four. Um, so there. So yeah, that's the curation so far. I have curated already my Kaveco collection. I don't want anything more unless they do release something that is earth tone. I am thinking about the Midnight Green. I think that that's the Midnight Green limited edition. But I think what turns me off, or at least it's not within my aesthetic, would be the black clip, the black nib,
Yeah.
and black finial, because I like this kind of detail where it's gold.
Yeah.
The nib is gold. So yeah, I do have that thing for gold um, accents on my pen. So yeah, basically that's one of the quote unquote limiting factor for me.
Okay, my turn. My curation's a bit more erratic, and I said it is budget based, especially now that I'm kind of like not in a good place because of my my gym membership. I will not bash institutions, but I'm not happy about gym memberships in this pandemic. My curation's really that I ended up with a lot of sailors. For a long time, my vanishing point, it's mustard yellow. I bought this in Japan when I was there, I think 3 years ago. This is my first one that I bought with my own hard earned and expensive money. Because we know that this is like mid range, this is your entry point to the higher level stuff. But from there, I went down a rabbit hole. The boyfriend gave me a 1911 cigar shaped one. And then what was it? Extra fine, extra fine. So it's a bit too thin for the normal stuff. And then everything else is pretty much an EF or or an MF. And I've got one zoom nib. Um, you'll notice that I'm very colorful. If you can see it here, I've got the yellow, I've got the two milk colors from Sailor Pro Gear line. Even my 1911 is, it can't just be red, it can't just be black, it has to be both. Because, well, I think it's also a personality trait. I just really like having accents of color um, that really just give personality also to the pen and like convey my personality to other people. I think part of buying pens and owning them is actually being able to also hang them on your clothes.
Yeah.
And then, right? And then when you're like gonna sign something, you just pull it out magically and then they see it. It's pretty, you're signing. The gold clip shines, the colors are varied, and it's just nakakilig. Like a non-translatable Filipino term, but it brings this inexplicable joy.
Yeah.
My curation's erratic. My curation's almost non-existent, but I'm really happy with what I've got now. Although I gotta say, Ryan, you are such a enabler because even if my plans for a Kaveco brass are delayed, they are still in the cards. Maybe 2 months down the line, I'll be able to show everyone my new brass Kaveco. But right now, I think I'm just enjoying my sailors, and I'm quite happy with that. What's your daily driver?
Okay. My daily pen. So yeah, I did not show this. Actually, now counting my pens now, they're not just 13.
Oh no.
So yeah, looking at my pens without the Kaveco, they are 12. Okay,
Mm.
they are 12. With the Kavecos, they become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, uh, 12, 13, 14, 15,
18.
17, 18. They're 18. Okay. So my daily pen, which I put with my wallet, is a Kaveco aluminum raw.
Mm.
It's a Kaveco Alsport raw. and it's a fine nib,
Mm-hmm.
but when I actually bought it, it was a medium one. So
Oh.
someone selling it online. I wanted the pen,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really like the nib. And also when I bought this, I wasn't really sure yet if the how thick exactly are the medium nibs of Kaveco. Because my first pen, to be very honest, my first Kaveco pen is this one from Galen Letter. So this one. Yeah.
Nice. Iconic.
Yeah. I bought this simply to go with my wallet.
Ah.
For a moment, I have to show you.
Go ahead. But yeah, Ryan and his Kavekos, while he's getting it. Oh, there he is. He's back on the screen. All right, go ahead.
So this is my wallet. So this is a Galen letter. It's actually supposed to be an insert for the passport size traveler's notebook, but I think it was substantial enough. It is substantial enough to hold all of your things and serve as a wallet without having an additional cover. So there, how it looks like. And then it's supposed to go here, the pen. So when you go out, you go about, this is your wallet.
Yeah.
But the nib, the nib of this pen is broad because unfortunately, the time I decided to get a Kaveco from Galen Leather, the only nibs they had left were broad, unfortunately.
Mm.
When I was thinking about it, they still had the fine and the extra fine. But when I finally pulled the trigger, they only have broad left. So I'm like, okay, never mind.
Mm.
Thus the purchase of another pen, but this one had a medium nib. So I'm like, I don't like it that much, but okay. So thus the purchase of another pen,
Oh
which,
dear.
which is now fine. Great.
Oh. But what do you use your daily driver for? Like, for example, like whoever's listening is considering taking buying a pen. So how would you sell your daily driver to that person?
Okay. So this Kaveco goes with my wallet there. So anytime I need to sign anything, like for example, I go to the grocery and you use your credit card and then they ask you to sign something, I use this one.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
and then I need to, for example, in Manila, there are times where you have to log your name on logbooks or
Yeah, that's
you
true.
have to accomplish a contract tracing form. So you need to have a pen. So I don't want to use, of course, the pens that they have. You'll never know. It might not be sanitized so well. If it is, you don't want to be caught
That's
handing, holding plastic panda pens. I'm just kidding. These are 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but no, that's not going to be my pen anymore. Um, so yeah, this is my daily driver. I use it for anything that I need to sign or anything I need to accomplish. And it took a while for me to find the perfect ink to pair with this daily
Ooh, what's in it?
driver. Okay, so the ink that I paired with it is actually a where is it? A moment, let me just look for the ink. Come out, come out. Okay. This took a while for me to determine. I wanted something, of course, to be neutral, something safe, so black. But I started off with a Noodler's Ink, Bad Black Moccasin, and X Feather.
Mm.
They take forever to dry.
I yeah. Oh,
So
noodles.
after watching 30, 30 videos of people talking about inks, I ended up with this Diatramentis
Mm.
uh, document ink in black, which dries for about 5 seconds.
Oh,
Fast already. There. This is the
bad. It's so legit the way you use your pens and your ink. Like now I'm like I use mine to journal. Nothing's permanent. If my journal falls into water, nothing's gonna survive. But at least it makes good ink splotches. Yeah. So
yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, this ink, actually, what drove me to looking for a good permanent ink was because I needed to sign very important documents.
Mhm.
And I didn't want it to get altered or like, people manipulating the document. And what I did notice, I played around with the inks of noodlers.
Mhm.
I, I would try to draw lines or put my signature and then wipe wet wipes or maybe a wet cotton onto the ink, and then I get to see it spreading. It's not as waterproof as how they brand it, or if it is waterproof, there are a lot of pigments that actually they just scatter onto the paper. So it wasn't something I liked. So I ended up looking for a fountain and pen ink in black that, based on reviews, is actually good. And this is what I saw. The Yeah, tremendous. Love it.
Yeah, that's a good ink. Like, well, there's a budget version. I think it's platinum carbon ink or something like that. But like, they're around the same demand. It's just harder, I think, to find the Atramentus in our country. Am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I'm not as formal. My daily driver, as you can see with my pens, are equally colorful because like I put inks that are often colorful and not waterproof. Because maybe I just enjoy the fleetingness of my ideas. No, I'm kidding. How would you call this? My current daily driver, I actually have two. Because I change, I have my pens in rotation and my inks in rotation every month. Um, I essentially use one pen for my planning, one pen for my journaling, and then I have one pen per month for flourishes. So right now, at least for this month, my work pen is, I think, yeah, my work pen is this blue one, the blue Milcolor. It's loaded with Sailor, Shikiori, Yuki Akari. So it's practically neon and light blue, which I ended up enjoying. I usually don't like light inks because it forces you to put pressure while you're writing, especially if you're not used to it. But after a month of using it last month for my journal, I just grew to love it. My current journaling pen, which gets the most use, is my Pro Gear Mini Slim filled in with Diamine Damson. The nib is not in the best place. When I received this, I mean, sailors don't have the smoothest nibs. They're actually kind of scratchy and I like the feedback, but this nib was misaligned and I still work every day on it just to um the nib was misaligned and then it's a bit too tight. So I still work on it, give or take every day, stretching the space between the nibs. Or maybe after a month I'll be changing the inks. My last flourish pen currently is my Pro Gear Rialo. Um, it's filled with limited edition Troublemaker Inks X Scribe Pawikan. Finally found a place to put it. The nib is a zoom nib, so it writes thick when you write using um, the normal angle, the normal 45-degree angle. But if you flip the pen over, there are no issues. It writes really well as well. I like shading inks more than shimmer inks. And everything I have so far pretty much does that. Yeah, that's how I go. I usually have, I take a pen on a ride for 1 month each so that the nib wears down. Also, I get to use it. But yeah, that's my daily driving point. I hope that like I mean right now those pens aren't really accessible to a lot of people. I'm sorry. But like if you were to get a pen and if you want to experience it, I'm sure that certain institutions, Scribe especially in Manila, will let you go ahead and take the pen nibs out for a ride, at least in their store. You can test the inks, you can test the writing, and that's really great. So that's really it, I think, for our first episode. It's not really long, or maybe it is. I don't know how long this will take me to edit, but we've gone through our pen journeys, we've gone through our daily drivers and counted how much we have in our collection. All of that is going to change in the next year or so.
And I realized my numbers were not accurate.
Well, we teach English, not math. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we're starting at. in this pen noob journey, and things are going to change down the line. Some of us, I'm likely to acquire more pens. Ryan's gonna lose some and then replace them.
Maybe I will. Maybe you'll never know. The next time we do have the episode, it's bye bye for the. Oh, but I still like it. But I might say bye bye to the vanishing point because I can't find a partner for it. Like the thing is, I need to have something that's also gray. I
That's
have
true.
not anything yet that sparks joy. That's also color gray. So we'll see. We'll see how that will turn out. But yes, it is a process.
We'll see. Nothing is set in stone, just like our collections and our journeys are. And this podcast is, because honestly, I don't know when our next episode will be and when this will even be released. But this is the first part of it. We're trying, and we hope to see you on our next Pen Noob episode. Thanks for your time, and we hope that you find a pen, write with it, and enjoy. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.